This meeting is being recorded.
Well, hello everyone. I'm so excited for today's webinar. I think that many of you know that I am Todd Bookspan, the founder of Win by Noon, but I'm really pleased to have a good friend of mine, Denise Donoghue, aka the Mortgage Nerd, here as our special guest. Welcome, Denise.
Thank you. Happy Monday, guys. I'm glad to be here.
You know, it is a great Monday, and you just got back from vacation, so you said you're refreshed and ready to rock and roll.
I am. Yes, I'm a big believer in taking breaks every single quarter. So, yep, I just got back yesterday and ready to rock and roll.
All right. So on the off chance there's someone here who does not know who the Mortgage Nerd is, can you give a little bit of background of who you are, where you're from, and all those cool things?
Yes. So I'm Denise, aka the Mortgage Nerd. I go by the nerd because I really am a nerd. All throughout high school and college, I cared more about studying finance and how to make a dollar work smarter instead of harder. And so, being a nerd in school wasn't cool, but we're bringing the coolness back to nerds. And I'm here in DFW, which is Dallas Fort Worth in Texas. And I got into this business right around the 2007 time period. So right when the market was doing fantastic, got out for a little bit and got my financial advising license, and then got back into it in 2012. And last year we helped over 700 families, which was really cool, and just hope to kick butt even more this year.
Well, I love that. And of course, in case some of you are doing a double take, yes, this is Deborah Bird, my normal co-host, identical twin sister. So I guess I should have said that as well.
Yeah, Deborah didn't put like extensions in her hair. That's how we tell each other apart. She's the bird with short hair. I'm the nerd with long hair. So
I just love that. And so, I mean, congratulations on over 700 families. I mean, I think that's really huge. And I know a lot of our watchers here also follow you on social media, and certainly the fact that you've got a financial planning background, comes across in all the advising, that you do. How big of a part of your practice is that piece, do you believe?
It's what we lead with. And so it's really the heart and soul of the company. And I feel like in all of the correspondence we do with the clients, how we present options to clients, how we inform every single client what their debt to income ratio is and what that means. And for lack of better words, we dumb it down. If I tell somebody your debt to income ratio is 38%, so you're financially healthy, they have no idea what that means. I don't expect them to. But it is super important to me that when we share with them, hey, this is your home buying budget, this is the maximum that you can qualify for, but this does mean that your ratio is at a 49%. Let's talk through that. What does that mean? It's kind of like your financial blood pressure. And so I would say at every stage that you enter our, manufacturing process, whether it's at the very beginning, in the middle, even after closing, we're committed to sharing financial literacy, and that's really what we lead with. And so when you're a client of ours, even like I said, after closing, you're going to get a financial tip from us every single month. I call it the Nerd Club alum. It's not mortgage related. Sometimes it's just what's the difference between a Roth IRA and a traditional IRA, or what's the fastest way to increase your FICO score. People are really only interested in mortgage stuff when they're in the mortgage process. But like I said, my passion and heart and soul is helping people just be smarter about finance and know that you don't have to make a bajillion dollars to talk to a financial advisor to get a roadmap to retirement. You can start today. And so it's not just once you enter our system, it's even afterwards. It's something that's my primary role on the team, is I'm creating that content and delivering that content and reevaluating it every single day.
Right. And I love it. So obviously team is a big part of it. And we're going to talk about your Chick-Fil-A mortgage process. So real quick, before we jump into that, can you kind of just give a little broad brush of what does the team look like, different members and roles, that kind of thing?
Yes. So I am the only loan originator on the team. So those branch numbers are my own. And I think that that's important to know, because I remember when I was sitting on stage, like looking at people talk about their numbers, I'm like, oh, well, they probably have 10 loan officers that work for them. I'm not. I'm the single loan officer, and I've got 4 loan officer assistants, and I've got 2 admins who basically help with answering the phones and doing some of our client concierge type stuff. And I share that with you because when I was starting in this business, I thought that it was literally, like, I literally thought that it was impossible to delegate part of the business because I felt like every client wanted the nerd, and that every realtor wanted the nerd, and that if I was to pass a client off, that it would make them feel like some kind of way, or especially my real estate partners. And so that's why it's always important to me when I'm talking to loan officers is that you can build a business where maybe you start out as the quarterback and you're the one on the field every day and you're the one practicing. Slowly you move into that coach role where you're signaling the plays to that quarterback. And then you can move into the ownership role where your job is to manage the client experience, and you're not necessarily the one throwing the plays because you're not the quarterback anymore. You can get there. There's a way to go about it. But for any loan officers or even real estate agents that are watching this and that are fearful of passing that ball to a team member to delegate, you can do it. I'm living proof of it, and I am not a genius. So if I can do it, you guys can do it.
Well, you are pretty smart, and I do think that that's really a big holdup that a lot of people have. I mean, for me, when I was producing, and our team didn't do 700 loans ever, so 550 plus was our best. But yeah, if you have a great process, then it makes it easier, because really what you're selling your clients and your real estate partner on is the fact that you've got a great team and a great process to get it going. So, how hard was it for you? Was it I guess I shouldn't say how hard was it. Was it easy because you created a good process to be able to trust the system, or how did that come about for you?
It was, I mean, I'm not going to lie. It was hard because I failed a lot at the beginning. You have to have the right people in place to be able to pass that baton, which means you have to spend way more time than you think training those people so that they think like you, that they speak like you. You have to literally go through every single email. I would tell them to blind copy me on the email, and I would critique every single email. And that's not because I'm an anal control freak. It's because I was so dedicated that when you go to Chick-fil-A, no matter what Chick-fil-A you go to, they always say, "What? My pleasure." It's like known for that. And so there are certain words in the mortgage industry that I think that you should say and that you shouldn't say. And that's why I was super critical in overhearing every single phone call and email, because I wanted that experience and that emotion to be conveyed no matter who was delivering that email and whatnot. So I spent a good amount of time hiring, and I hired the wrong people. I had to get rid of them, then hire again, and train them. And once I finally found my first two people who are my anchors, who could qualify a client like I could, and then speak and articulate like I could, then I felt comfortable passing that baton. You can't do it premature. You have to make sure that your people think and speak exactly like you. Once you do that, then it's just, I created a team email, and we all started using that team email, and my social media and my conversations became different. It became the team. It became, posting a picture of Eric saying this, Eric is smarter than I am when it comes to dissecting tax returns. Is really building up my team, and that I want to be, and I was thinking about this when I was on vacation, like I am the least knowledgeable right now on my team when it comes to qualifying a client. And I have no problem sharing that on social media or sharing that with my realtors, because I want them to know, sure, you can send me your tax returns. It's not that I can't do it, but you don't want me to do it, because that's not what I do all day anymore. I'm not the one that's showing up at the field at 6 a.m., lifting the weights, and that's not my role. I'm researching other things to make sure that our nerd practice goes the way that I want it to. But once I started having those conversations and introducing that, Amy is my self-employed specialist, and all she does is dissect tax returns and helps people prepare those. And, Kristen is my first-time homebuyer specialist, and they really liked that. And so I started really building up my team members better than me. And I think for a while, my perception was, especially being the nerd, is I have to be the smartest one on the team. And I don't. And once the pain got great enough that realtors were emailing me or text messaging me, and it was taking me way too long to get back to them. Once the mindset shift set in that I'm doing a disservice to that client and a disservice to that realtor by making them wait all day, that just email the team inbox and you'll get a response as soon as possible. If you email me, when I'm meeting with somebody, whether it's a client, whether it's this webinar, whether we're out to lunch, my phone, I don't even know where my phone is right now. It's upside down. I give people my undivided attention. I think it's super rude to be like this and like you're at lunch trying to have a meaningful conversation. I don't do that. So I tell people, if you want my undivided attention like we're doing now, but you have an urgent question, you'll get a faster response by either emailing our team inbox or our team text line. Our CRM has a team text number, so it goes to all of us. And sometimes the client would email me or the realtor or text me, and I would, even though I'm staring at my computer, I wouldn't respond. I would drag it to the team inbox. And sometimes I would respond from the team inbox because I was having to retrain them that that's the faster way. So I would respond from the team inbox, or I would respond, and then like 2 hours would pass by and I'd be like, oh, looks like the team already got to you sooner. And I was eventually training them that just like at Chick-Fil-A, it doesn't matter what Chick-Fil-A you go to, as long as the sandwich tastes the same, whether you're in California, you're in Texas, or you're in New Jersey, as long as that sandwich tastes the same, you don't give a crap who's making it. You don't care if it's the owner, you don't care if it's Joe behind the table. If it tastes the same and the quality is there and the service is there, you just want the darn sandwich because you're starving. And that was what I was creating. And the realtors now know that. But it was more of a mindset shift for me than it was for anything. But you can't. So the other part of that is you can't have your kitchen or your staff making sandwiches and then delivering them to clients. And if the sandwich is coming back to the kitchen because it was made wrong, well, now the kitchen's overworking and having to remake sandwiches because we didn't do it right. And if that starts to happen, you've got a problem, which is why you've got to hire the right people. But I feel like in our business, we just don't spend enough time training those people to make sure that they deliver those sandwiches correctly. So you do have to have the people in the training there first. And if they're cranking out the sandwiches and you're noticing you're not getting a lot of sandwiches returned, you're on to something.
Yeah, it's what I always say, you have to inspect what you expect, right? So you had to create the system first, and then you have to hire the right people to work the system. Then you've got to actually train them to actually execute the system. And then from there, it's smooth sailing. So how do you script it then to a client, or how do your realtors script it, all of that, to make sure that when a client's calling, they're not expecting that you're the one who's doing all of the cooking, the serving, everything else?
So this is where I've gotten coined from Todd Duncan as the one-timing queen, because when I went to one of his events, I learned the power of one-timing, which just means you do something once that can be used over and over and over. And so in my CRM and even in my Outlook, we use a program at our company called Template Express. I think that's an internal thing, but there's Signature Express, which I think is very similar. And you can basically create email templates, kind of like your Outlook signature, but if your computer ever crashes, you can't save those signatures. And I wanted a Signature Express so that every team member, if you're emailing an introduction email or whatever, that has to be manually done before it goes into the CRM, I wanted it delivered exactly how I wanted. And so I have a template that I share with every realtor, especially if it's a new relationship. Now our existing ones already know it because I've already shared it with them. But when you're meeting with an agent, one of the first things they ask you if they like you is, how would I refer business to you? And so the way that I answer that is, well, of course, it's always going to be what's best for you, agent, and for the client, because I don't want to say what's best for me. I have a preference, but ultimately, if your client prefers texting, I don't want us to force them into a method that doesn't work for them or for you. But if you're asking for my preference is an email, because I have a team email. I can share with you a template, Mr. Realtor, if you'd like to introduce your client to the team. But the reason why the team email is so important is because, number one, your client will get a response to immediately. And number two, they'll be entered into our follow-up system so that if that client doesn't respond within 24 hours, we're getting a notification that we should reach back out to that client, because they're not being, their name's not written down on a Post-it note. We're very intentional with our follow-up. And so then I leave that appointment and I email them the sample e-introduction, and they use it every time. And that e-introduction, because I know you're going to ask me, looks something along the lines of, I could read it to you, but it's along the lines of, hey, the subject line will say e-introduction to Denise and team. And then it says, client, I wanted to introduce you to Denise and her team. They are a team of certified mortgage planners and upfront pre-underwriters. That's what I call LOAs to a client as an upfront underwriter, because we direct submit to underwriting. They're the best of the business. They can shop over 30 banks. You're in great hands. Denise and team, want to introduce you to Todd. Todd is relocating here from California. He's moving his 3 kiddos across the country, and they're looking to learn more about their budget. Here's their phone number. I wanted to make the introduction. It's literally an email template, and they use it every time, and they send it to our home loans, and it's exactly how I want to be introduced. And every Friday when I send an email out to my realtor database, guess what I have attached to that email? The sample template that I want used when they're introducing me and the team. And so if they forget, they can just refer back to that email. But I realized if you just teach the agent what is the best way to introduce them, then they will do it every time. They just need to be trained as well, and they'll do it. And so they do, and it's fantastic.
Love it. Love it. So that email comes into the inbox, and then what's the next step in the process when the email's received?
So then my admin who checks the team inbox, because using a team inbox does take some habits of learning. Some people have tried it and they're like, it's a hot mess express. But one of my admin's jobs is to color code those emails as they come in for whatever LOA or for whoever person on the team the email is for. So that email would be specific for one of our admins because it's an initial introduction. And so of course, when we get that email, her job is to add that person to our CRM and then respond manually to that email, because I don't want it to be a robotic response. We do have a template that's used, but I want it to say, thank you so much, Caitlin. I thank you for introducing me to Todd. Todd, I'd be happy to help you and your kiddos move across the country to Texas. We've helped several people just like you. There has to be some personalization to that, because I don't want to be a robot. But we have a template that's used and she knows how to edit it. She responds back, and in that email, it's like, would you like to set up a phone consult, or would you like to jump right to our application process to start filling out the information? It's up to you. And so we give them all their options. Do you want to give us a call? Here's the number. Would you prefer to schedule the call online? If so, here's the online scheduler. Or did you want to just go ahead and get started because this isn't your first rodeo and you don't like to talk to people? I don't like to talk to people. Then go online and fill out the stuff and we'll give you, your information. Everybody's a little bit different. So we hit them with the 3 methods. They go in the follow-up system, and then 24 hours will pass by. An email from the CRM goes to my admin. Hey, we didn't get the online app. Call this guy and reach out and say, hey, just want to make sure you got the email, and and it goes from there. That's and then an email will go out to the realtor. Hey, it's been 24 hours since you sent the introduction. We haven't yet connected with them. As soon as we do, we'll let you know. And that happens, like every 24 to 48 hours. It's aggressive on the first 10 days, and then it slows down. But once they're in the system, they're in. You have to file a restraining order to get out of the system. So once you're in, you're in.
I love it. So if they want to call, is that call going to be with you, or is it going to be a team member who does that initial phone call?
My team member that does the initial phone call, because usually unless it's somebody that specifically wants to talk to me, of course I will always talk to a client. But because it was presented with Denise and the team, Amy is our upfront person. She can answer all the initial calls. It's usually something super basic, like if someone wants to talk first, it's either usually a first-time home buyer, or it's somebody that's has a credit blemish and just wants to make sure that now's the right time. And she's been trained. She's been with me for 8 years. She can answer all those incoming questions. She's super warm and fuzzy, way more warm and fuzzy than I am. Clients love her. She guides them on what the next steps would look like. Go online, fill out the information. And then within 24 to 48 hours of us receiving it, one of our upfront pre-underwriters will review it. If they have any questions, they'll reach out to you. But I position the team with, rather than a loan officer or an LOA work the file up front, we've structured the team where we've moved an underwriter to the front of the line. and they're the ones that's going to review your file. Why wait until you're under contract and wait until you get to that point, and in the 7th inning of the game? Let's do that up front. And so an upfront pre-underwriter will take a look at your file, and they'll be in contact with you within 24 to 48 hours. So they're already expecting an underwriter to talk to them, not me. They don't hear from me until they go under contract and I present rate options to them. That's the only time that they talk to me. But perception is, because I have all kinds of videos in my CRM thanking them for their online application, and they feel like they have spoken to me because they've seen my videos. And it's interesting because I probably 90% of the time, I don't have a single conversation with the client. My rate video to them is custom and it's done for every client, but it's not a discussion. It's I've recorded my video, I've sent it to you. But if you look at my online Google reviews, almost every single review is Denise and the team is great. Denise and Eric was this. And so they're still feeling like Denise is involved, even though I'm like not very much involved.
Love that. So the pre-underwriter will do all the initial intake of the application, follow-up and documentation. Will they have an initial high trust call then at that point, let them know here's what you qualify for, here's how much your payments can be, down payment expected, all of that?
Yep. Once they have either pre-qualified or pre-approved the client, then we send an email in a very specific template with very specific data that says, here's the information. We like to give you all of this in writing, but here's where you can go online and book your pre-purchase consult so that you and your pre-underwriter can review this information together and get a strategy in place before you start making offers. And I'd say about 60% of the time they book the appointment. The email, for people who like to read, that don't like to talk, that have high reading comprehension, you don't need a phone call. I would never read an email that long. I would book the call, even though I don't like talking to people. As a consumer, I'd be like, that's a lot of numbers and a lot of words. I'm just going to book the call so someone can read it to me. So again, we have to cater to the different types of people. But in that email, it's sufficient enough that if you're a high level, busy, you're like, I got what I needed. I got my max purchase price. I got what my ratio is. I got what my FICO is. I can see a payment chart. I'm good. So they don't book the call. We encourage it, but they don't have to. But that would be with their upfront pre-underwriter.
Got it. And then the pre-qual letter goes to the realtor so they know everything is good to go and no real conversation there because they all know you and trust you.
Yep. So when the upfront underwriter sends the email to the client, I have them actually introduce themselves like, hey, my name is Matt. I'm your upfront pre-underwriter. I work with Denise. I've reviewed your information. Take a look at the below. And that's to the client. To the realtor, it's from our team email. It has our team email signature, so you can't really tell who it's from. I still have that coming without the upfront underwriter introducing themselves intentionally, because I don't want the realtor to have to remember which pre-underwriter did this file. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who made the sandwich. Just if you have any questions, email this inbox so it looks like it's from me. But they get a separate email that says, hey, thanks, we've got your client pre-qualified. Here's their max purchase price. They qualify for our bridge loan, non-contingent. Make sure you copy us. We have, blah, 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 blah. And that's a template, and they send it every time. So what we're doing is we're creating consistency with our realtor partners. So the client's only going to get pre-qualified maybe once every 8 to 10 years. But we're creating that consistency with the client that they know they're going to get a text message from us when there's been a decision made on the file. They're going to get an email from us. Once they've done it, once they've come to our restaurant enough, they will know what to expect. And that consistency is what creates the trust.
Love that. Consistency is what creates the trust. And so then they go under contract, and then that's where you're sending numbers. So I'm assuming you're sending out a total cost analysis with your video. That's how you're reaching out to them and letting them choose.
Yes, I do my videos a little bit differently, though. I don't do the video built into mortgage quotes. I do a screen share. And so it's a long video, but the upfront underwriter will send me the rate board. I'll tell them what rates to put into the total cost analysis. They set up the total cost analysis, email it to me with the template of what I want in that email so that I can bring up the total cost analysis. I will bring up what the bond market has been doing, and then I will bring up their specific rate board and OB, that we get. And I am doing a screen share where the video is on me and the video is on my screen. And I start out showing them, here's your rate board. I want you to see it. Here's what the bond market's been doing for the last 2 years. The line's been here. Now it's here. Now you understand why rates might feel high. They should. It's the highest they've been in the last 10 years. And then I say, so I've taken the 4 rates off this rate board. I've run an analysis for you. Let's talk through that. Let's fast forward you 10 years in time to see what one makes the most sense. So it's a very custom. They're seeing me. The upfront underwriter also includes in the email the screenshot of their liabilities, because when I'm presenting to them, you could buy the rate down, but what's the opportunity cost? And then I pull up their liabilities on the screen and it's like, you've got this credit card debt or this. So the question is the best use of this $5,000 to buy the rate down to 5.25 or to knock out this credit card at a 12% rate? That's my goal, is to help you think financial, strategically when it comes to your finances. And I'm showing this on the screen. And that to me is what I think separates us. It's kind of like when you go to the dentist. My sister made me watch this video today. It's like when you go to the dentist, I love when they show you your teeth and like where the plaque is. Cause there's a part of me that's like, do I really need a filling, or is this just how you're making your money? When you go to the car dealership and they tell you need an oil change, it's like, but can you show me the oil? Because if you show it to me, I'm a lot more trusting. And that's how I want our practice to be, is I want to show you the numbers and show you, because that also makes them trust you and makes them feel like they're seeing behind the curtain, and they are. So my videos are a little bit more intense than just maybe your standard video in a TCA, but that's where, that's my 10 minutes that I get with the client. I want to be super intentional. And then at the end of the video, I want to be able to thank them for trusting us, thank them for using us, because I know there's a bank on every corner. The tone of my voice changes at that point in the video, and I am looking them in the eyes, because I am like, I just want you to know that I sincerely appreciate you trusting in us. There's a bank on every corner, and you trusted Jamie's recommendation in us, and I don't take that lightly. So I will get you to the finish line. You've got my direct cell phone. If there's anything that happens throughout this, you call me immediately. And when the tone changes and you're looking them in the eye and they can see you, literally in a market that we're in right now, Todd, what happens every single time is I send this email. People don't believe me. I will prove it to you with emails. They respond back and they say, this video was awesome. We will take the 5.5% rate. And I'm not even having that conversation. They saw everything that they needed to see. They watched the video as often as they needed. If the spouse is in a separate state, it doesn't matter, because they can both access it. You can see it as an unlisted link on YouTube, so you don't have to download an app. They love it. And in my Google reviews, it's one of the things they're like, I got a custom video strategy from Denise, and they love it.
That's awesome. All right. So people are going to ask real quick, what technology used to do the screen record?
Screencast-O-Matic.
Screencast-O-Matic. Awesome. And then if they do have questions, who is it that they talk to? They talk to you, or does it go back to the pre-underwriter?
It goes back to the pre-underwriter.
So even though
Unless
they even though they have their cell phone, it's really all still geared back towards the person who actually has all the data.
Yeah. And here's the thing is, I will actually email them this video from my personal email. And I actually do that intentional, because I want them to know this is coming from me. And if they respond with a question, back up at the very bottom of the email, it says, if you have any questions for myself or Kristen, just let me know. And if they respond back, it goes to my individual email. And then I take that email and I drag it to the team inbox so that that team member can respond. And whether they think it's me or not, it doesn't really matter, but I don't get into the weeds of that, because I don't need to. They're trained enough to do that. They'll bring me, if someone's questioning the rate or questioning whatever, I always jump in. But I am like, if I'm getting involved, it's because they need, they feel like they need a manager. But it's very rare.
They're bringing in as the heavy hitter. And so from there, just to close it on out, is the same pre-underwriter then run it from contract to close, or does it go to a different person? How does that look?
Yes. Up until about 60 million in production, I had an upfront LOA and a back-end LOA. And that model worked really, really well. So front end LOA, meaning they would take the incoming call, do the pre-qual, but then when they went under contract, we sent it to LOA 2, and LOA 2 would take it from contract to, close. And that model worked really well until about 60 million, and it started breaking for us. And I think what happened was my LOAs became so good. Really, technology changed because people started uploading their documents right away with the invention of, Simple Nexus and they're called POS systems. It's a horrible acronym, but they're POS, I don't know. Anyways, where now they can go online and apply and upload their documents right away. And so it was like we were getting documents right away. My LOAs have been with me for 5, 6, 7 years at that point. And I'm like, doesn't really make sense to pay this person to pre-approve somebody and do the income calcs. And then when they go under contract, this person has to refamiliarize himself with the file. It's another introduction to the client of another human. And then it goes to a processor, and it's like, well, who's the processor? I thought that's what this person, and then there's an underwriter, and it was just too much. I'm like, basically now the upfront LOA is doing the income calcs because we're getting documents. So I just combined that role, and they do from pre-qual, which really 80% of the time we're getting income docs day one. So pre-approval, and we don't introduce the processor now, we just direct submit to underwriting because they're trained enough. They've been with me enough. They've seen enough underwriting reviews. We've trained them. They can do their own income calcs. So I don't need a processor to review their income calcs to submit it. They'll just direct submit it. And then one of the admins does all the order outs, like appraisal orders, insurance orders. They set up the file as soon as the contract comes in. So it's like when you're going in for surgery and you've got kind of multiple nurses working on you, it's kind of the same with us as we've got one person ordering this, but this person's looking up the taxes. And, but I just found it, once we got to that point, it just made more sense to just make that roll from pre-qual to contract to close. Now, once we send it into underwriting and it comes out, my expectation is that the processor introduces themselves as an underwriter's assistant. They don't say loan processor because what is a loan processor? People don't know. So to a consumer, our LOAs are upfront underwriters, and to a consumer, our processors are an underwriting assistant. I think it's actually an underwriting partner is what their email signature says. And so when they introduce themselves and say, hey, I'm the underwriter's partner, underwriter has reviewed your file, we need X, Y, Z. My job's to get that from you, send it back into underwriting and get you to the closing table. Their job is collecting all the conditions. The only time the LOA comes back in the picture is to go over the CD with the client. And if there's any lock extensions or anything like that, that's what they do. But we have an email template. So when a final CD comes out, they email the client with snippets of what they need to know about their CD. And of course it says below is a lot of information. If you prefer to set up a phone consult for this, let's do so here. If not, here's the information you need, which is usually sufficient enough. But their job is to manage that the CD gets out and to make sure if there's any rate extensions, that's the LOA's job.
And so really it's same person all the way through, video from you, same person gets it back, and then the underwriting partner will get the conditions. And then at closing, is there any phone call after the closing celebration? Are you involved at any other point? It doesn't sound like the answer is no, that you're not jumping in, but I'm assuming that the person who helped them from the start is getting in and doing the congratulatory calls and all that stuff.
Yeah, our CRM does have voice drops. I've tailored some of those back because it's kind of obvious that it's a voice drop, and I don't like technology. I am so conscious of making it feel like a humanized business that if the voice greeting starts, you can kind of tell. Some clients know, the ones that are in sales know it's a voice drop. A lot of them don't, but they get a voice drop from me saying, hey, your loan's approved. I just want to thank you again. Make sure that if anything is going sideways, you let me know, because it's important to me that you have a good client experience. And then at funding, the same thing happens. Of course, all throughout the milestones of like sent to underwriting, loans approved, clear to close, loan funded, we have videos for that. And then after closing, when it gets sent into underwriting, we send a care package. After closing, we have a care package. And then every month after closing, they say, congrats, your loan's closed. You're officially part of Nerd Club alum. And then every month I send out that financial, it's a video to the entire database, just giving them some sort of financial tip. And then they're enrolled in HomeBot, so they get an equity report from us. And then every year I do the annual, that's the other role that I do, is the annual review, where I look at, okay, what's your interest rate? How's your homeowner's insurance? Let's bring up your inspection, and if were there any repairs that you should have done that you might not have done yet. That's a really good one for real estate agents. Like, always pull up that inspection report and say, hey, did you get to these things that you didn't do that we should have done? Did you file your homestead? In Texas, we have a homestead exemption. So I think that's a big miss that real estate agents don't do, is those annual reviews. So of course, my CRM sends a text message to the realtor a day before that says, hey, it's their 1-year anniversary. Here's their name. Here's their address. Make sure you reach out to them. And that happens for 100 years. Same thing with their birthdays. Hey, realtor, it's your client's birthday tomorrow. I wanted to make sure you wish them a happy birthday. And so because what I found is that realtors aren't necessarily as organized. And so if I can help them with that, I become a super valuable partner to them. So we deliver that to real estate agents after closing as well.
You are a super valuable partner. All right, so real quick on the annual mortgage review, are you just doing a video like you do for the rate part, or are you actually picking up the phone and having a conversation with them?
The first thing I do is the CRM emails them and says, hey, congrats, it's your 1-year anniversary, 2-year anniversary. I'd love to jump on a call and review, your terms, blah, blah, blah. Let me know what times are good for you. And I wait for them to respond, because what I was doing was doing the analysis and sending it to them and then asking them to jump on the call. And half the people dismissed it. And so I was spending a ton of time. 700 clients times like 10 years, spending all my time doing these reviews, and they weren't even looking at them. So I was like, okay, now I'm going to just prompt them like, hey, part of our services after closing is an annual review. Send me the most recent mortgage statement you have, and I'll do the analysis for you, because I need to know what their loan balance is, what their updated escrows are, things like that. And so the ones that respond, I will perform a similar analysis like I did with the rate email. But if they don't respond and they don't get it, they still got the email, but then I'm not spending my time doing that. And in the email, because I also get a notification, I see what their rate is. So selfishly, they've got a 2.875 and they put 20% down and there's no room to like remove PMI, then I just let it go. But if I get an email that's like, hey, this is someone that was a conventional loan with PMI and it's a 3-year anniversary, I'll say, hey, I look at their CD and I'm like, well, we can probably save you, like, let's connect, because I can probably save you, this much money by you making a call to get your PMI removed early. So I'm more strategic in it now because of just bandwidth, but eventually I'll probably have one of our admins help me with that, with the chasing part. I just have to spend a little bit more time training them on those little nuggets.
Love that. All right. Well, we have a couple of questions here, but I do see none other than your twin sister at the airport, I think, here on Zoom. Did you have a question you wanted to ask your sister before I let the rest of the folks ask their questions?
I was just going to say, Denise, and I don't know if my Wi-Fi is glitchy. I am at the airport, so y'all just let me know. But Denise, I was going to say, you are pretty intentional with which closing you will go to. You may have intentionality of where you're trying to grow the business. The team will let you know which ones maybe are most important to attend. So I thought
all right, I'm muting Deborah because I did not understand anything she just said. Wait, maybe not. Let's try to mute up. Did you understand her question?
The twin lingo, I think you said with 20-ish closings a week, how are you intentional with which closings you go to? Is that what you said, Deborah? Just shake your head, yes. Okay, she's frozen. So I do attend some of my closings, and I think it can add the cherry on top. I had a coach one time tell me it's the biggest waste of time, and sometimes it is, but if it's a VIP client for the realtor, then I want to show up for the realtor because it means a lot to the client. And I don't stay for the whole time. I just pop in for the first 10 minutes, shake their hand, tell them thank you. And I don't do it for closings that are farther than like 15 miles away. But my admin, I have an admin every Thursday, and she will look at the closings for the following week. And she'll send me a report, a very specific way that tells me who's closing, who the realtor is. Are they a VIP type person? Meaning, are they a manager type position where they influence people? Were they relocating here from another state and they don't have a relocation department that maybe we could help more employees? So we're very strategic in who's closing, and she gives me that report every Thursday. And then that helps me determine what closings for next week. Am I going to attend? If I don't attend, then I send a personalized video from my cell phone that says, "Hey, Todd, thank you so much for trusting in the team. I'm so happy that you close on your loan. Hope you and your kiddos relocate here soon." And I'll do that with the listing agent and even sometimes the buyer's agent as well. But I don't even know how many closings are happening this week or until my assistant emails those to me. And that's, she gives me all the details that I need. So if I need to reference that they're married, or if she just got a divorce and that's starting a new chapter of her life, I make sure in my video that I'm like, as you start this new chapter in your life, I just want you to know the nerds are here. So you know what I mean? It seems so like I'm in tune with what's going on.
Well, it's just a seamless process. I mean, ultimately, you've got a system that you designed, you've hired the right people, and you're making sure that they execute it according to plan. So that way, when they get the spicy chicken sandwich, it tastes the same every time.
Yeah, and not everybody's going to order the same thing. We only specialize in chicken. We're not Sonic where we do a million different things, but we specialize in chicken and we do it really, really good. And here's the fun fact about Chick-fil-A. They're one of the most profitable fast food restaurants on the planet, and they're only open 6 days a week, not 7 like the rest of them. And so that's kind of my thing. It's funny, Eric is the one on my team that gives me shit the most. And he's like, could we maybe compare ourselves to a higher end restaurant than fast food? And I'm like, okay, maybe, but like everybody gets Chick-fil-A. And it's just interesting that they stand proud in their values. They're not open on Sundays for a reason, which we all know why, but yet they're still highly profitable. They're not the cheapest sandwich in town. They use quality ingredients. They have great service. And that's just, I truly feel like that's what your team can be, from the person that they order at the cashier or the drive-through, or, the person making the sandwich. As long as you as the team leader make sure that every team role is that important. Because if you have someone taking the drive-through order and they're a jerk, that's going to ruin, you go to that place so many times and they're not going to want to go back because you were a jerk, and that's their first impression. And so everybody's role is super important. It doesn't matter if it's me or if it's the person answering the phone, or to create that client experience, it's everybody.
Yeah, I was, when my daughter was doing theater, I ended up was way across town. My wife was like, if you take her to that tryout, she gets a part, then you're going to drive her every day. So I would drive her, and I sat really nearby at a Chick-fil-A, typically 6 days a week. Right. And it was amazing to watch, because I would be there for 3 hours. And one is they treated me like family, but I wasn't the only person. It was amazing to see that all the familiar faces that came in, families that came in, every week and, a couple times a week, and just how the camaraderie was. And you're right, the consistency was always there. They didn't have to be everything to all people. So, all right. Do you have a few minutes? I know we're going to try to get done right now, but can I just ask you a couple quick questions that people have asked?
Yeah.
Your sisters and emails along too. When you're assigning, you already kind of mentioned that you assign some people to different of your pre-underwriting specialists based on some for first-time home buyer. What other categories? How do you direct traffic to your team to load balance, et cetera?
So now it's really based on the referral source, because when we do happy hours or mastermind with realtors, our top agents they start connecting with certain ones. And so now I've started to pair those with the realtor, because quite frankly, any of the pre-underwriters can do first-time home buyer or jumbo or self-employed. They all can. It just helps sell the team to say that we have specialists, and we still do. One of them does credit repair. One of them is our go-to self-employed. But if it's a certain realtor, I try to send it to that person because they've formed a bond, and that's our repeating client. So now what it looks like is that's what I do. But if it's an agent that we do maybe 1 or 2, 3 deals with, and they haven't yet formed a bond, it's a free for all. I look at my LOAs, lanes, and how we manage our leads, and I see who has capacity and I move it to them, because like I said, they don't really care. And quite frankly, I would say that 75% of the time, they still think it's me because the email comes from me. The email signature is our team's signature. So they don't really know, and they don't really care because, again, they want fast and service.
That's it. Love it. And what about as far as when you send out that 10-minute video with the different rate options, are you sending that to the real estate agent too, or just to the clients?
I send it just to the clients, but I tell them to share it with, the important people in their life. So if that means the real estate agent, that means their CPA or their financial advisor or their parents, this video is for them and for all the important people in their life, which is my secret way of saying share it because it'll blow them away.
Yeah, I love that. I think a lot of people are scared that the real estate agent's going to micromanage the rate and get out of their lane and get into your lane when you share it.
No, because in that video, they have no idea what a mortgage bond is and why there's an inverse relationship with mortgage bonds. I mean, I throw out every fancy word that I probably can't even spell, but I throw it out. I know what it means, but I can't spell it. They have no idea what it means. They don't know why the bond, what major factors are happening this week that could cause rates to go up and down. So it is very clear that this is my lane and that's their lane. That's how it should be.
Yeah, I always think so. I mean, I think that's, the true sign of a true professional is they trust you. And I have no doubt that your real estate partners do. And so I got to imagine that for them, they're like, oh, Denise has it.
They love it. They're like this. They learn every time, they love it because usually the client's like, I'm so glad the agent referred me to you.
Yeah, I have so much respect for what you built and love what you're doing. And I know that this is pure gold. People are asking, yes, we're going to be having this recording up onto the Win by Noon YouTube channel, so you'll be able to check it out again. A couple of people are asking about your email templates and stuff like that. Where do you want me to direct people if they've got questions? Because I really don't want people bugging you personally. What would be a good way to help people out?
They can email me because I delegate 95% of my job. So until Deborah makes me do marketing stuff for my social media, it's funny because the perception is like, oh, you're so busy. I'm not really that busy because I've got a team that manages it all. But just email me. If it starts to be too much, guess what I'll do? I'll drag it to the team inbox and somebody will respond to you. But just email me, denise@themortgagenerd.com.
Perfect. And Deborah's coaching me from the side. So, and you do know, of course, that Deborah, her sister, Plug and Play SM, does all of your social media and does all of ours as well. And Deborah wants me to remind you all to make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Yes. It's always good to have her backseat driving.
Yes, because I might make some guest appearances on the Win by Noon YouTube channel. So if you don't subscribe and get the bell, then you're not going to get any of the nerd nuggets. So right now, go subscribe right away. Awesome.
Well, I appreciate you taking more time than I asked for and delivering huge value. And I'm grateful for your sister who's there making faces at us from the airport. You were a terrific substitute. You're more than welcome to show up anytime in her place. As always, everyone, we appreciate you taking the time. We're super grateful for you being part of the Win by Noon community. And this call is a wrap. Thanks again, Denise.
No problem. Take care.
All right, guys.